time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
And we are live. Greetings to our loyal WFYL listeners around the world. Welcome back to your Philadelphia live stream, only on the Freedom Station. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in once again, because you still have the right to hear and the right to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike G. As always, with me are Philly Chris, Russ, the producer, and Liberty Lee. And you're listening to Mike G in the morning with The Law Matters. And you can listen to our program every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So let's be heard. I want to dive right into the action today. We've got Philly Chris is back and action. We've got quite a few of the loyal listeners of the Mike G and the Morning family joining us. We've got Rita checking in, saying, "Hey now, I love the Philly Chris graphics with the spacesuit and the alien." Give her a hey now, Philly Chris.
Hey now, hey now.
Hey now. DG says, "Hey now, is that one giant leap for Philly Chris?" Give her a hey now.
DG, hey now.
Dag Nabbit's checking in. Give him a hey now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dag Nabbit coming at you live. Hey now.
And a great comment from Definisland. Gaining all the traction these days, says, well, due to the fact that Philly Chris is actually a giant leap, would be one small leap. Mike, too. Did you guys realize he is like 9 foot tall? Guinness Book of Records wants him. Randy checking in. Give him a hey now.
Hey now, Randy. Hey now.
You know, Philly Chris, last week, we didn't have you. We missed you. You're gone for over a month, I think, at this point, right?
It's been a while. Yeah, had some stuff going on. Unfortunately, my mother had a stroke, but she's doing great. So thanks everybody for reaching out and their prayers and everything. But she's doing good. Some personal stuff going on. So, but yeah, been a crazy several weeks.
So everybody keep Mama Philly Chris in prayer. How do you refer to Mama Philly Chris? I don't think it would be Mrs. Chris, right? Mrs. That would be a wife. A wife would be Mrs. Philly Chris.
Yeah, just mom. I usually call her mom. Yeah,
just mom. So everybody pray for mom.
I'm very lucky. Love you, Ma. She watches every now and then, so she might be watching. I don't know.
She's doing great from what I understand, all things considered.
It's actually shocking. I mean, it's sort of a miracle. I guess it's the first time I've ever seen somebody be better after a stroke than before. As you know, and I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but almost to the day, I guess it was about 4 years ago, she had a stroke, and that one caused some serious issues. She had like the aphasia and some issues talking for about a year, but went through speech therapy and it's pretty close to a full recovery. You know, I wouldn't say 100%, but for some reason after this stroke, she's doing better than she was before. So I'm curious if maybe there was some sort of blockage or clot there, and maybe it didn't go noticed. And then when they went back in and removed it the second time, I don't know, but she's actually doing better than before. It's very strange. So for whatever,
I think it was the next day we FaceTimed, and I was like, wait, are you sure?
yeah, right. Yeah, it was crazy.
Amazing, sharp, sounded great. God bless her.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody. Liberty says, Philly's mom. That's how you call her. Philly's mom.
Philly's mom. There we go.
Philly's mom. Got it going on.
Yeah.
Randy says, Mike, which character is your dad playing in the movie 13? He's one of the, I guess you would call them guards. One of the, there's one scene in particular where they're playing the game. And I don't know, I guess I can describe the game without spoiling the movie for everybody.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's a modified version of Russian roulette. And you have a bunch of different guys who are standing in a circle. And each one of them is pointing a gun at the head of the next guy in the circle. Right?
Yeah.
So he's pointing the gun at him. He's pointing at the next one. And they're all revolvers. And there's a man, played by Michael Shannon, who's standing on this ledge overlooking them. And there's a light bulb at the top. And Michael Shannon will yell, everybody raise your guns, spin your cylinders, and give them instructions as to what to do. And when the light bulb turns on, everybody pulls the trigger. And there's this one guy who's totally freaking out, and he collapses, and they say, get him a chair, get him a chair. My dad's the guard who, it's like this dramatic scene. He walks down the hallway with the chair, gets on the stage, and puts the chair on there. That one's my dad. Looks like me, except a little older, goatee, long hair.
He looks pretty good. He looks good.
Yeah.
He's pretty scary looking. He's got that intimidating look in a good way. You know what I mean?
I would recommend watching that movie, though. That is, if you can handle it.
Good
it's a
movie.
pretty intense movie. I loved it, though.
I saw it before I met you, which was kind of funny because then I found out later your dad was in it. I was like, oh, I like that movie.
Yeah.
It's a legit movie.
So last week we did this thing where I was trying to put my thumb on the pulse of our community. And I was going through some of the issues because I couldn't tell you right now what I believe to be the top issues on the minds of Americans who are getting ready to vote in an election in the not too distant future, right? I think that the campaigns are going to start ramping up. You saw Chris Christie throw his hat into the ring. There are several candidates on the Republican side. I believe there are 3 currently on the Democrat side, which would be Biden, RFK Jr., and Marianne Williamson. Third, and then there's a Green Party candidate, Cornel West, who it appears will be running. Randy says we're watching it tonight. You'll enjoy it. I'm sure Randy's not going to turn it off and have nightmares or anything.
That's
like
right.
That. I thought it was well done. So, Chris, do you have any thoughts on what some of the top issues were? And I heard an interesting take, just to preface all this. I heard an interesting take from Patrick Bet-David. And what he was saying is that you, as a voter, ought to look at, instead of the individual issues, look at the way a candidate treats a certain hot button issue, right? And the specific thing he was referencing was the Kennedy assassination. How does a candidate view the Kennedy assassination? And his point was that, well, that's not something that's on the forefront of the minds of Americans, right? That's yes, people, their top issues that might not be on their list of their top 20.
Right.
But when you see how a candidate views that particular issue, it'll give you insight as to how they would handle other issues. So as opposed to asking them about each and every individual issue, which you might not get the appropriate insight, right? You might get politician-y answers or something put together by their team. If you go to one issue where you really have to take a stand, it'll show you how they would tend to treat a broader range of issues.
Yeah.
And to his point with the Kennedy assassination, it was about too much power in the hands of these 3-letter agencies, things along those lines.
Sure.
So what do you think of that approach? Because that's something that I found to be unique. I don't hear many people going that route. Do you?
Not really. That's an interesting approach. And I think it's fascinating how there has been some more information regarding the assassination, in recent months and years. And it is kind of sad, though. You make a good point that it's really not on the forefront of people's minds, even though I guess when you look back at history, it's one of the saddest events in American history. Anytime a president is harmed, let alone assassinated, and in such a public manner too. So, I've mentioned my opinion and thoughts on the whole 3-letter agencies on the show quite a bit over the past several years. So maybe people should look into that a little bit more or take it a little more seriously.
Well, you say that it's sad that all things considered, it was a long time ago, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you look at the way the pandemic was handled, and you have a lot of people who say, I don't really care about that anymore.
People's memories are short-lived. I mean, all of us, I fall in that category too. And I think it takes some diligence to look at things from, over the course of decades. Oh, you threw me up there. Okay. Hey, everybody. Hey, now.
Why didn't somebody say something? I did mention Russ, the producer, on the intro over here. So
he's not really here, though.
People are listening and not watching.
Russ
Russ, the
isn't here.
producer, is not here.
That's why
and I
things are
forgot that
going.
that was my responsibility to change it back. So it would have been nice if somebody would have mentioned
I think
mentioned that.
Liberty was sending chats, but you know how it is when you're on the
Yeah,
show.
I
you don't really
monitor
see
the public chat and the private chat and have a conversation at the same time.
it. right. And try to remember what you're talking about. Are we on the air right now? Are we live?
Yeah, we are
Just
are
kidding. Just kidding.
live. We
Ladies
have
and
that one
gentlemen.
guy who pops in every so often and asks
Mm.
if we're live, and people go nuts on him in the comments.
It's pretty funny, yeah.
It's the same guy. He's been doing it for several years at this point. He'll just pop in and say, "Is this live?"
Little troll.
And people who are
situation.
not familiar with him will just jump on him.
Yeah.
Dude, why are you asking that question again? So, what issues do you think are important?
I mean, you know, the country is so divided, Mike, as we know, we all know, and especially our listeners and followers are aware of. I think it really is important to look at the issues regarding that. You know, where we're going to head here after the next president and election with our civil liberties and freedoms, and you know, if there's another quote unquote pandemic, you know, what types of things are going to be done to limit our freedoms. You know, we heard a lot of people in the media saying things like "screw your freedom," you know. So, you know,
My
that's
new
why.
pal.
Yeah, right. I mean, I have mentioned on the show quite a few times. I'm independent. You know, I don't really want to associate with either party, and there's things I'm disgusted with on both sides. But I would definitely lean in the direction of smaller government and freedom, and getting away from the tyranny that we're all pretty aware of at this point, although a lot of people are not. So it's fascinating to see history repeating itself, in my opinion.
How about in the comments, folks start to let us know what you believe to be some of your top issues? That would be great to hear from the Mike G in the Morning family. What's on the forefront of your mind? I haven't said that in quite a while. That used to be a staple of the program when we had the call-ins. Somebody would call in, I'd say, you know, John from York County, you're on the air. What's on your mind?
We got to get that back up and running. Maybe Russ can work on that when he's back from his vacation, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Maybe pigs can grow wings and fly alongside the Chinese not spider wings.
definitely happen a lot sooner, Michael. You're right.
So think about the more day-to-day level. So you're saying freedoms in general, people are concerned about their freedom. I think that's frankly, you know,
I could be more specific.
With all due respect, I think that there are much fewer people who are concerned with their freedom than you think.
You're saying there's a lot of people who are.
There are much fewer people. Yes.
I
think that if you polled the entire country, it would be a very small percentage who said, "My freedom is the number one thing I'm concerned about." I think it would be a very small percentage.
I agree, and
because you have people who are. Sure. You have people who you don't really expect to say that under any circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, people on the left, people New York, California, but even among people who might be center right, I don't think that that's a main issue for them these days. I don't think that. I think there are, you know, a percentage of people who would, but I don't think it's enough people, frankly.
It's kind of scary, you know, and this is how we end up in a tyrannical world, you know, which is really where we're headed, in my opinion. I think it's probably too late. You know, the one of the biggest things I've mentioned over the past several years is the CBDCs, the new digital currency that is basically out now, the Fed coin. So once they get rid of cash, which ultimately is their goal at this point, in my opinion, you know, all transactions are going to be tracked and controlled, and the money supply will be highly manipulated. It's already manipulated, but to the point where if they decide Mike G can't go and buy any more firearms because you're, you know, not a nice attorney and you're very mean and you use hurtful words, which we know is very true. You know, but I mean, they could, you know, you go to make a transaction and then you're flagged for whatever reason. You know, maybe they don't like you eating real meat, red meat, because they want you to eat the genetically modified, meat that they're growing using cancer cells in the lab. So kind of crazy
Growing
stuff.
using cancer cells, is that what you've said?
Yeah, the new meat that they're growing in the labs, which is already happening, they use the cancer cells to replicate the protein because it replicates so quickly. It's the perfect host. So, but that's kind of insane. Why would we doing that? Vladimir Putin in Russia doesn't allow for GMOs in their country. As a matter of fact, he refers to it as a terrorist act. Any organization or farmer that would engage in those types of things in Russia is held to the highest.
All right. Well, let's. I got an AP article up here.
Okay.
Claim lab-grown meat is made out of cancerous animal cells. AP's assessment: false. Meat grown in labs is made using cells taken from animals, but those cells are not cancerous. And there are many safeguards in place to ensure that the end product is safe to consume, experts told the Associated Press. False claim stems from the fact that, like cancer cells, those used in lab-grown meat often go through a process that allows them to divide indefinitely, but cells must exhibit other traits to be considered cancerous. The facts following recent news that 2 companies were given the go-ahead to sell lab-grown meat in the U.S., some social media users are falsely claiming that the products are made from a dangerous source. What do you think of that?
Well, I believe that, the wording of what you just read is they're saying they're not using cancer cells, which is accurate, but the technology they're basing it on is the replication of, the way that the cancer replicates. So it's like the container, but I think the wording you just read, and it's the AP. So I would question what they're saying. You know what I mean?
All right, let's try USA Today. A June 26th Facebook post claims an unsavory process is being used to create food products for consumers. Did you know that lab-grown, this is in quotes, quote, did you know that lab-grown meat is cultivated from animal cancer cells because they grow faster? R rating, false. The experts told USA Today that stem cells are typically used because of their availability and ability to replicate. Though cancer cells can similarly grow quickly, experts said the cells are fundamentally different.
Interesting.
The same technique is used in medicine. Stem cells typically used in process.
Well, I will do some homework for next week, and
manufacturers generally use cells from the tissue of an animal to create such products, according to the FDA website. The claim that cancer or precancerous cells are used in the process of cell-cultivated food is false, said FDA spokesperson Veronica Pfaffle. P-F-A-E-F-F-L-E. How would you pronounce that, Philly Chris?
I think Pfaffle.
P-F-A-E-L-L. The P-F-A-E-F-L-E.
Say it one more time.
What is it? Pfaffle? Maybe it's Pfaffle. The P is not silent.
Snuffleupagus.
Pfaffle. The P is not silent. The P is not silent. It's Pfaffle.
Yeah. Pfaffle.
Pfaffle and Pfeiffer. The cells used in cell culture technology are selected for enhanced proliferative capacity in a bioreactor and are not derived from or selected for the ability to form tumors in animals or humans. What do you think, Chris?
Interesting. Well, I will do some homework for next week because I've seen some things regarding that. Of course, they're not using the actual cancer. I mean, they're not going to replicate the cancer, but my understanding is they're replicating the genetically modified meat or whatever they're calling it. But I will get back to you on that one, Mike. I could be wrong, and if I am, I will admit it, and I apologize. But I saw some things about that recently, and I believe that's the technology that they're leveraging to increase the production of the meat. So,
well, if they were going to quote, one thing that I noticed about them though, is if they're going to use a source, why would they just say experts? Why wouldn't they say this guy who's the main man at Harvard? Or,
it's a good point, and some of the sources you.
Why would they want to remain anonymous or something like that? It's not like they witnessed a murder or something. Like, listen, don't use my name. but
Right.
they're definitely not cancerous. It doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And you see that a lot, actually. They're just referencing some source that, isn't really verifiable.
I
So,
know nothing about, just so we're clear, I know nothing about processes with lab grown meat. I'm just
Mhm.
looking at this like an attorney who, if you had to be skeptical of this and cross examine
yeah, no, I
based
like your
upon this.
approach.
Wait,
And
just look at what doesn't make sense here.
right.
That I find peculiar.
It is
They had to
somewhat,
use like anonymous experts for this kind of a thing. You
Yeah.
would think that it would be no big deal and even bolster the credibility of the article to
right.
say who the expert is, right?
I mean, when you're sick, you usually go to an anonymous doctor, right? We're just going to,
Just trust us.
Have
He
you-
went to school.
yeah,
Can't tell
we're
you
going to have you
where.
talk to this doctor on the phone, but we can't really tell you who they are, but they are a doctor. So,
Well, we've
but-
got some good comments here. DG says, I'll still take my farm to butcher to grocery store or butcher over lab grown meat. Liberty says, we're going to need FCP for AI, fact checking police.
yeah.
Scott says, pre programmed AI is the fact checking police, Liberty. Dag Nabbit says, I'm almost afraid of the next election. I don't see how we as a nation could handle another 4 years of this mess that's been created by the current administration. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. I'm having a hard time figuring out how anybody who voted that way is looking around right now saying, yeah, you know what? This is exactly what I hoped for. I made the right call.
Right.
And you and I were talking about this because we heard somewhere that who was saying this? I forget who we were watching, but they said that somebody who voted for Biden will never vote for Trump. Like anybody who voted for Biden would never vote for Trump. And I just don't think that's true because I've heard a lot of people who voted for Biden tell me that begrudgingly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but if it comes
I've heard
down
that
to
from
it,
some people
if
too.
it comes
yeah.
down to it in the next election, I will be voting for Trump.
Yeah.
Now, whether they actually do it's a different story, but I have had quite a few people tell me that. They just felt
Yeah.
like the country felt better, even though there was. I said this last week. We had 4 years of the focus always being on him, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all everybody in the media talked about. It was like the attacks on him. That was it. It was not about, oh, the economy's in the toilet, gas is expensive, and
Right.
people are losing their houses or anything like that. None of that was an issue. It was just
Sure.
about how do we go after this guy because this guy's bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's very emotional.
the average American, their life was doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people regret making this kind of a change based on, I think Dag Nabbit called it mean tweets last week, which I think is good.
Yeah. Well, we've seen a lot of things based on emotion over the past several years, including things during the pandemic. A lot of people were in a state of fear, and you oftentimes make decisions based on fear instead of facts and rationality. It's interesting that you put up the me in the spacesuit at the beginning of the show, whatever, because I have a quote prepared. I'll read later from Carl Sagan that he made about 26 years ago, about 10 months before he died, and I think it's very timely with what's going on right now, and I think it sums it up pretty well. But anyway, I'll get into that later, so stay tuned.
The great Carl Sagan. We can't wait.
Yeah, the great Carl Sagan. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that, Michael? If I could flip the coin around on you,
Carl Sagan.
No,
What are my thoughts on Carl Sagan?
Well, actually, I'd love to hear.
I'm the
those
wrong guy
too,
to
but-
ask on that one.
No, about some of the stuff you just asked me. I mean, what do you think the biggest issues are, or regarding the freedom and the digital currency?
I'm willing
and
to admit that I don't know, and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking everybody because I can't seem to put my finger on it. I can't seem to narrow down what it is that most people are concerned about.
Okay.
I don't know. Is it if it is the economy, then what specifically about the economy? Is there something about the workforce? Is it the price of gas? Is it the price of food? Because inflation in general might be a concern. Well, how specifically is it impacting you that it's one of your top issues, right?
Sure.
In what respect are you not seeing your dollar go as far?
I was. Are you asking me, or are you just making a
No,
statement generally?
it's just like a
right.
rhetorical, is a
Yeah.
question for everybody. That this is what I'm trying to figure out.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, total stranger in a store somewhere, and they were commenting about how the economy's really good. And I was just kind of sitting there taking it in, like, really?
It was Yellen said that the economy is obviously doing exceptionally well.
I mean, it's
Obviously.
pretty obvious.
Duh.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you have a fair amount of additional funds and you're not, having to stretch your paycheck or whatever income you have, month to month, then I suppose it's not as bad. You don't feel it. But I know a lot of people who are really pinched every month, with the inflation and the increase in costs across the board, whether it's gas, electricity or food or whatever the case may be. So I don't know how you can say it's great or good unless you, yeah, people's bills. I know some people up in New England, and there were some major changes to the service providers up there where people's bills literally doubled this past year. So, if you were paying, let's say $150 and all of a sudden you're paying 300. So you got a couple kids to feed, and, especially for single parents who I know some who are doing a great job raising their kids. And then all of a sudden their buying power is going down while their bills and expenses are going up. So not a great situation, but hey, maybe everything's great.
Liberty said house prices, we're seeing people not be able to buy homes. The price of average homes are insane right now.
Yeah, and the if I were to make another prediction, there's going to be probably the largest home housing crisis we've ever seen in this country soon. The banks are so leveraged with the mortgages, and more people than ever are defaulting right now on their mortgages. They're keeping it quiet, but interesting. I've been talking about this for a while, but when I was on the flight down to Florida, I happened to be sitting next to a high-level executive at one of these mortgage companies, and he was telling me that the S is about to hit the fan, and they're constantly on the phone trying to work out agreements and arrangements with homeowners, and we're going to about to cross over the precipice where it's going to become more public. So that's a problem. That's a big problem. And with the currency stuff going on as well. So it's going to be an interesting time, unfortunately. Another Great Depression.
It's saying that nationally, the mortgage delinquency rates, let's see, April 22 versus April 23, you have down 0.1 percentage point, right? So not 1 percentage point, but 0.1 percentage point, 2.9 versus 2.8 that are 30 days or more past due. An increase of 0.2%, so 1.2 up to 1.4 that are 30 to 59 days past due. An increase 0.1%, 0.3 to 0.4 in 60 to 89 days past due. A decrease, this is weird, it's kind of all over, right? A decrease from 0.3% to 0.2%. So decreased by 0.1% of 90 to 119 days past due. A decrease by 0.3 percentage points, 1.4 to 1.1 of 120 plus days past due, and dead even on foreclosures in the last year. This is according to CoreLogic.com.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a reliable source. I'm not familiar with CoreLogic.com.
Yeah, well,
I went to the bottom and I saw CoreLogic. They have other links to CoreLogic, Australia, New Zealand, and UK. And I was like, was I just looking at the wrong country? I was not. This was, those numbers were for the United States.
Thanks for the update on Australia, Mike. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
People are doing just fine in Australia.
yeah, things are good over there. They can.
S&P Global. There's an article right here. The U.S. leveraged loan default rate.
What are you seeing there?
Oh, I have to register for this article.
Oh,
I'm
geez.
not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, some of the stuff is lagging in the reporting, and also it's
May
interesting how
25th. Hold on a second.
May.
You
Okay.
said they're at all-time high. This article says overall U.S. mortgage delinquency rate drops to all-time low in March.
That was March. March.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you think
March.
since
Okay.
then we've gone from the all-time low to the all-time high?
I don't know if it's the all-time high, but it's trending toward that, and it's about to get
Okay,
much worse. So that's what I was.
I gotcha.
That was my statement
gotcha.
earlier. So I
I'm
think in
not
the
trying to
coming months,
challenge everything you say. I just don't know about this stuff.
No,
So
It's I don't know all the facts here either. I'm going off. A lot of this, as I mentioned on the show, is things that I look into on my own, and also talking to people in those markets and observations I make. Some of it's gut sense too, just from watching the numbers over
okay.
the
So
years.
here's
But
a potential indicator. This is an article from May that says U.S. households show signs of stress as new delinquencies rise. Credit card debt didn't drop as usual in Q1, and share of credit card debt and auto loans and delinquency rose. So maybe that's just like the tip of the iceberg, right? Because
yeah,
people start to have problems paying off their credit card. Because if you have a choice to pay off your credit card or your car or your mortgage, the mortgage is
mhm.
probably going to be the first priority, I think, right? You don't want to get kicked out of your house, lose whatever equity you got, stuff like that, right? You've been
Sure,
paying
sure.
in.
Although the banks, and this has happened before when there were past housing crises, it gets to the point where they don't want to deal with your house. So people, I think we're going to see in the next year or two where people are going to be in their homes for extended periods without paying the mortgage. This has happened before, and the banks will just kind of ride it out, because when the prices sharply decrease, they're not going to want to assume ownership of the home. And it's better to have tenants in the house, because in the past, when they did evict them and force them out, the houses go into disarray, and then the heating stuff and water gets turned off, or you got burst pipes, or kids in the neighborhood coming in and vandalizing it. So now you have a property that is not only not worth as much, but is a burden on the mortgage company. So they're probably going to let people sit. I think we're going to see that more than we have in the past, where they're just going to let people ride it out. But I don't know that for sure. That's just my gut feeling, but it's going to be pretty bad, in my opinion. All my opinion.
It is your
My
opinion.
opinion. It's my opinion. It's just my opinion, ladies and gentlemen.
Now it says more and more people having to use credit cards for items they wouldn't normally. They normally
Yeah.
wouldn't. I feel there are going to be more bankruptcies for the lower and middle class.
I think I mentioned on the show a few months back where there was a report about the number of people using their credit cards in the United States for basic needs like food and just getting by month to month, with family needs, which is kind of a newer trend as well. And now the amount of debt that people have run up on those.
But I keep
cards
seeing these tweets that Biden is creating more jobs than any president ever has in the history of the universe, and anybody and everybody can get a great job immediately.
Yeah,
so
it's easy. It's real easy. Yeah, it's great. It's all true.
DG says, I certainly do hear of a lot of people still going on vacation, see a lot of new cars on the road. Granted, a lot in New York and New Jersey, people have moved into Lehigh Valley who think PA is a bargain.
There's still a certain segment of the populace who's doing very well. I mean, there's people who, I think this is unfortunately how it can get worse too, because you have a certain percentage of the population making well over six figures, and you have those dual income couples, and they're just kind of living the way they normally would. And who knows what they're really doing. Do they own their cars in the driveway? How much equity do they have in their homes? How much are they running up? How much credit are they using? You see a lot of people and you think, well, they're doing great, but what is their true position? And then when things flip around like they're about to, in my opinion, all of a sudden you lose all that equity in the house. You don't have that leverage anymore. And then when the bills start coming due, and then the layoffs are probably going to happen too, even more. I know some large
Mm.
companies that are about to announce more layoffs because consumers are starting to pull back. I don't think we've seen that fully show in the market and in some of the numbers that are being reported, but there are companies that I'm aware of that haven't said anything public that are about to lay off people, fairly large
That's
amounts.
a good thing to Google.
Mhm.
What companies have done layoffs? Business Insider says Binance, more than 1,000 jobs.
Yeah, there's
Niantic,
been some
about
big ones.
230 jobs. Robinhood, about 7% of the workforce.
Mhm.
Ford anticipated layoffs. Sonos, about 7%. Grubhub, about 400 jobs. Spotify, 2% of the workforce. JP Morgan, about 500 jobs. Says, let's see.
Another big thing that just happened, and this is interesting because Ford just took out a very large loan. I think it was I'm trying to remember how much it was, like $9.2 billion. And they were one of the few companies not to go bankrupt
A
a
lot
few
of
years
money.
back when there was that. Yeah. So I think that's another indicator of what's to come. They're most likely borrowing that money so they can stay above water through what's ahead of us. In the past, that's why they survived. And they were one of the few companies not to declare bankruptcy back when all those bailouts happened. So who knows? Maybe they should just get bailed out. But apparently, they're trying to prepare.
It wouldn't layoff tracker. CNN's layoff tracker. Let's see.
All their stuff is definitely
April 2023,
accurate,
meat
right?
giant Tyson Foods is laying off about 15% of senior leadership roles and 10% of corporate roles. 3M announced significant layoffs.
Hmm.
Lyft, the rideshare company, plans to significantly reduce its workforce.
Yeah, I think those are all pretty strong indicators of what's going on.
Whole Foods. Deloitte, consulting giant Deloitte will lay off 1,200 employees. BuzzFeed announced a 15% reduction in its workforce. David's Bridal eliminating 9,236 positions. Walmart
Interesting
laying
point,
off
Scott.
more than 2,000 workers. See, that might be one of the more concerning ones, in my opinion.
Walmart.
No? Yeah.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is think about how many
Or
large
is it
companies you
because of
just mentioned.
automation? Does automation have anything to do with it?
I do think there is something to do with that, the AI and the technology, and even at the grocery stores now, you see these robots, cruising around the store. I don't know if you've seen that. So they are eliminating positions through technology, but that's a problem because those people are no longer going to bring in the income they were accustomed to. So,
Meta has announced an additional 10,000 layoffs across several months on top of mass layoffs in 2022. Now, I wonder if that's like him taking a page out of Elon's book and seeing that he really thinned out the crew over at Twitter and they didn't burn to the ground.
Yeah, could be. I think they also haven't been doing as well as they were hoping with the Meta stuff since they changed their name and all.
Huh.
That's pretty funny, Denise.
That's
Hey now, Denise. Yeah. So, hey, look, there's always these ebbs and flows and these ups and downs in the market. That's part of the way things work. As we've talked about on the show in the past, I think it's really where people position themselves before this next big crash. And there's a lot of things you can do to come out on the other end of it in a positive way. But we'll see what happens with the currency. That's why I mentioned the freedom thing earlier when you asked me about that, because that's going to really determine what things are like after this happens and how much control they have over everybody. So get your social credit score ready.
All right, let's play a game. What does the average Democrat think are the top 5 issues? Find a random Democrat on the street. It doesn't have to be top 5, but just give me a few of them. What do they want?
Orange man bad. He can't be next president. January 6th, maybe. Climate change. Right?
Climate change. I think that's a big one, right?
All the social stuff that's going on. The equity and the what you call each other and pronouns.
Is that one of the top ones? I think climate change is definitely up there.
Climate change has to be one of the top,
control,
right?
Gun control.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Well, I'm so used to that one. I guess I missed it. Sorry, Mike.
Climate change, gun control.
Right.
What else would be one of the top for people on the left?
Let's see. What else we got? What else? What do we miss, Mike?
I don't know. Is the minimum wage, is that a...
I don't know. I haven't heard as much about that recently. It's definitely still part of their agenda, and I think they made some adjustments. Definitely a big one. Yeah, that's got to be up there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and think about all the issues we just talked about. And again, it's that division. The division is crazy now. I mean, I really didn't necessarily think in my youth I would see the division we're seeing now. But when you're fed propaganda on both sides that cater to your belief system, it's pretty easy to divide a country, and you know what that means when the country's divided. It's easier to conquer. So
what else? There got to be a couple of other issues.
Let's see, what else?
The average person on the left, what's their primary concern in the upcoming election?
How about Liberty? You got anything, Liberty? No, she can't really talk too much right now. You're welcome. Let's see.
In the comments, let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
On the left. What do you think on the left would be the top issues from the left in the upcoming election, or what's impacting, in their opinion, their lives the most? See a lot of stuff about the workforce and everything like that, workers' rights, things like that. Liberty says, I honestly think they just dislike Trump.
Yeah. Well, you touched on that earlier. Yeah. Denise makes a good point too. Number one problem in the nation, lack of putting God first. So
that's true, but I don't think you're going to get that out of the left. I don't think that's
right.
We polled 10 random liberals, and they all said their top priority is getting the country back to putting God first.
Maybe paying for school,
right?
Covering
Dak Navas says,
loan.
I just can't think like a lefty.
Good for you, Dak.
It's a good exercise, though. I think it is.
It is good, actually. It's interesting to try to look at it from the other side of the fence. And, hey, I mean,
Try your best, Dak Navas.
I'm for the environment. I love the outdoors. I love the environment, but a lot of the things that they're doing and talking about are nonsense. So,
yeah,
I mean, the Tesla cars are great.
The oil and gas guys that I know, they know the retorts to all of the.
Yeah, I mean, when you have these individuals, these politicians, in these interviews, and they're showing off their electric cars in their parking lots of the local public buildings, but they're plugged into outlets that are being fed by coal-generated electricity.
Yeah.
And the amount of cobalt that's used in those cars, and the mining, and also the slave labor that's going on with that stuff. So you can't. It's not a clean argument, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, it's like the reusable bag thing we talked about, where I read an article that said you have to use the reusable bag X amount of times for it to become a net positive environmentally,
right?
Based on what they're saying, and nobody. I'm not gonna say nobody does that, but most people don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just get stacked up in the trash.
Yeah.
Weren't you saying that the township came in at work and told you that you couldn't use plastic bags anymore?
Yeah, they sent us a letter in the mail.
And you said, but I've got a bunch of them over here. And they were like, oh, well, you can't use them. You're like, so it's okay if I throw them away, but they can't throw them away.
Yeah, right. They're basically banning them from being used. You can get fined and all that. Yet they're, you still have some. So it's kind of silly.
You would think
You know.
that the ones that are already in your possession would be grandfathered in
Right.
if they're going in the trash one way or the other.
Yeah.
I heard that one of the primary reasons they've been doing that is not an environmental reason, but more of a littering kind of thing. Like people always leave plastic bags on the floor and creates an eyesore, you know. It's
Yeah, I
just-
mean that makes sense to some degree, but
well,
you know,
maybe
they're going to
you
do
know,
it with the
stop
other
people
bag
from
anyway.
littering. Yeah, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
Maybe
mean,
just that's
right.
not gonna. It's almost like a gun control.
It
thing.
is.
Like,
You're
if we
blaming the
just
bag,
take
not
away
the
the
people.
plastic
Yeah.
bags, we won't see. They won't litter with a plastic bag.
Yeah.
Like what? They're just gonna litter with something else. Shut up.
You see it in the city all the time too. When I'm down in Philly, you know, certain parts of the city, especially, you'll literally see people in the parking lot open their door and just set stuff on the ground. You know, like
Oh yeah.
especially fast food stuff. Like they'll take their drink cup and the McDonald's bag or whatever crap they just ate and just open the door and set it down. I shouldn't have done this, but there was a time actually when I walked over and I picked it up and literally stuffed it back in the person's window. And I was like, I think you forgot this.
Oh
You know?
wow. Yeah, that could
You
have.
know, there's a
ended in
trash can
shooting
literally
real quick.
right there. Huh?
People end up in shootings. I've had cases where somebody
Yeah.
calls somebody out for littering and ends up in a gunfight.
Not a good idea, but you know, it's just
Yeah.
one of those moments where, you know, I did it in sort of a nice way and I handed it back to them. It wasn't like I threw it in the car, but I was like, I think you forgot this or something here. There's
We
a
had
trash
one
can
case a while
there.
ago, and the guy approached somebody about littering,
Mhm.
and the guy freaked out on him, and you know, guns get drawn and everything like that.
Oh boy. Oh, boy.
And one of my colleagues said something to me along the lines of, well, you know, he was the good guy. He was trying to stop the other guy from littering.
Right.
And I said, yeah, I'm sure the prosecutor's office is going to be absolutely thrilled with our guy being the armed litter police.
Yeah, they're gonna love that. They're gonna
I'm
love that.
definitely not bringing that up in court.
Yeah.
Liberty says women's rights to abortion, ban guns, gender fighting, dislike Trump, climate change, loving tech.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
and
Tech is a big one too. Yeah, that's good.
Scott says for Dems, the biggest issue is forcing the law to let men use ladies' rooms.
Hmm.
And Scott says, but we need plastic bags to hold all the bees in. How else can we defend ourselves? That's right.
Good point, Scott. Good point.
Yeah, what do you do with your bag of bees?
I don't
in
know.
that
You definitely
township
need a
when they
bag
outlaw
for
the
'em.
plastic bags?
It's like not having a holster or something.
You have to have the burlap bag of bees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Liberty says, I think we need to focus on the family and God, getting families back to each other and growing. Getting prices down, let people be able to live and retire. DG's on board. Sounds like Liberty is going to run for president.
There you go.
Finish Lands is the show on California time or something. Did it start?
It is live. To finish.
It is live. It's live.
Hmm.
Yes, to Finish Land, it's live.
We'll do it live.
It's live. To Finish Land's been putting on some crazy stuff.
How about it? How about it?
Some crazy videos.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of views.
Mm-hmm.
All Kensington related stuff, right?
Something going on over there. I don't know what it is, but you know, something.
And people seem to be fascinated with it all over the country.
Apparently.
I will tell you this: I was in Houston this week, and
Hmm.
about 5 blocks from my destination, which was a nice hotel, it looked like I was in a different country. I was like, "What the heck
Right.
is going on?
Yeah, some of the stuff you told me about. And
What
Something
is going
else.
on?" Like people laid out across the sidewalk, tents, like homeless everywhere.
it's crazy.
One guy's getting arrested by the police. It was like people laid out on the sidewalk. Crazy stuff.
It's
It was like 5 blocks from a nice hotel.
it's wild to see in our country. Yeah, it's crazy.
It was nuts.
Not good, man. Not good.
It was nuts. And the driver was telling me that he picked up these people who had never been to the United States.
Oh, really? Oh,
And he
gosh.
picked them up in Houston.
Oh, wow.
And they were on that block, he said, and I go to make a left over here.
Yeah.
And there's a homeless person using the restroom right in the middle of the street.
Oh,
And
geez,
that's like
wow.
their first introduction to the United States.
That's unbelievable.
They're like, they probably went home to their friends. They were like, don't believe what you see on TV about the U.S. It's really not like that over there at all.
It's not.
It's
It's
horrible.
not too good. Not too good. No, it's unfortunate. It's
Scott says that's
Very
Pelosi's
strong.
legacy. I'm not talking about San Francisco, though. We're talking about Houston, Texas.
yeah. Did you get any video or anything while you were there?
No,
Okay.
I
Can you talk
was
about
not-
why you
I
were
was
there?
not
or you
looking
can't get into
to. I
that?
was not looking to stick around.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be like, hey, slow down a minute here. Hey, let's stop right here. Pull over.
You know, I would have.
I want to get some footage. Yeah, well, I have places to be. you
Yeah,
know.
no, I did. That's true. You did have important things to do. Can you talk about what you're doing, or you can't get into that?
I guess I can say that I was filming some promotional videos for US Law Shield. I guess
Excellent.
I can say that.
Yeah.
That's probably all I can say, but you'll see him sooner or later. I'm sure everybody on the program
hmm
pays attention to that
Maybe we
stuff.
can play him on the show. I guess. I don't know.
Oh, why don't we tell our audience a little bit about what we're going to do next week?
What
for
are we
next
doing
week's
next week?
episode.
What are we doing?
We
Oh,
have a very special episode next
Yeah, we
week.
do,
We've been
actually,
planning
yeah.
it for like the last 3 days.
yeah,
Remember?
yeah, I remember now. Yeah, folks, definitely. Do you want me to say, or do you
Yeah,
wanna
go ahead.
share? All right,
You had this
Uh,
idea a very long time ago too.
right.
So this is all your idea, right? I want to make that clear. You get
Okay.
all the. This is
So
a
if
Philly
it
Chris
fails
brand.
miserably, it'll be all my fault. I got it.
Well, hopefully, if it fails miserably, then it's my fault, really,
No,
right?
no,
Well, when you tell them what it is, if it fails
Yeah.
miserably, it's because I'm just not an interesting person.
no. It'll be because if it's a bad interviewer. But yeah, definitely tune in next week for a special Mike G in the Morning show where Philly Chris will be interviewing for the first time live Mike G from Mike G in the Morning, one-on-one at a local cigar lounge. We'll give them a shout out. Should we wait on that, or could we give them a shout out now?
I guess we could tell people,
Yeah.
right? Why
I guess
not?
if anybody wanted to stop by while we were doing it live, they could too, and have a cigar with us, or get something there at the shop if they wanted to. But go ahead, Mike. Tell
Contact
them-
us if you want.
yeah.
If you want to be there for the filming, you need to contact us because
Okay.
we're not going to disclose. I don't want to tell everybody because then we could have like protesters showing up and stuff.
Yeah, I guess we should wait on that. It's in Center City, Philly. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't say that out loud, did I?
oh, you said?
but,
Did you
yeah.
say the name of the place already?
No, I did not. I
Okay.
intentionally did not. But
Okay.
yeah, tune in. I think we're just gonna have a nice, fun episode. And as everyone's known on the show, I've known Mike for a while, so I look forward to the opportunity to sit down one-on-one and interview Mike, and we'll get to
It
know
will be a
Mike little bit
first.
better. Yeah.
It will be a first. I've done, obviously plenty of TV and radio appearances, but never really an interview.
Yeah. I'm
I
looking
guess
forward
sort
to
of on Riding Shotgun with Charlie. He asked me a little bit about my life and stuff like that, but that's a completely different setting. It's a unique kind of thing.
If anybody has any dirt on Mike, or they have any questions they want me to ask, you can.
Yeah, give me the hard hitting questions, right?
Philly Chris at Comcast.net.
He's
Send
like,
me
so
some
that
of
kid
the-
that you ran over in Little League.
We have someone showing up live today from third grade.
This is their turn to the Jerry Springer show.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'll probably ask you about the turtle, though.
You insulted this kid in high school.
Turtles. We'll be discussing turtles.
We could certainly discuss turtles. I know quite a bit about turtles.
Yeah. Yeah, turtles. But no, tune in next week. Yeah.
Philly Chris interviews Mike G.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, first when you said that, I was like, I don't know. Nobody wants to hear that. The
No,
more I
they
thought
won't,
about
no.
it, it's like it's something that we've never done before, and
Yeah.
it'd be unique, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And are we
I
doing it? Are we going to do it live, or are we going to record it and then play it? Should we talk about that, or
It just show up next week, same time,
Yeah. Okay.
same
All right.
place.
Yeah.
Next week, Thursday at 7.
Perfect.
You'll be watching our interview.
Be there or be square.
Be there or be square. We'll be
Yeah.
smoking cigars,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's going to be quite the production. We've got professionals involved.
Yes.
And,
Might actually look good.
looking forward to working with them. Scott says, "Does Chris get fired if he asks hardball questions?"
Scott brings up a good point. Maybe I'll have Scott call in for some of the harder questions. You going to be around, Scott?
Yeah. What would be the hardball question?
This question comes from Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you in advance, Scott.
You can call my mom and see all the things that I've done wrong.
Yeah, right. You probably need to. Yeah.
What was the worst trouble he ever got? And she's gonna be like, "How much time do you have?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have to reach out to some people, but no, that'll be fun. That'll be fun, man. And it's good to be back on the show here after a little break. We were kind of everybody's dealing with some stuff lately, but here we are. And then Russ will be back, I guess, next week too, maybe, or the week after, or whatever.
Russ won't be on next week because next week it's just you and I.
Yeah, that's
He's
good.
not going to be involved.
Is it true he will never be on again? I heard a rumor.
He will never be on again.
See,
I found a magic lamp in Houston.
Mm.
And so I rubbed the magic lamp. The genie popped out. He said, "What are your 3 wishes?" I said, "Well, 1 for Russ to never come back ever again." And then he says, "Okay, what's the next 2?" I was like, "Never mind, I'm good to go."
That's all I needed.
You just made my day, so I don't need any more wishes.
Give those to somebody else.
Pass them on to the next guy.
Very charitable of you, Michael.
Pass it on. You ever see those videos where somebody walks to the supermarket and they're like, "Do you want $1,000 or double it and give it to the next person?" And
Right.
Double it, give it to the next person.
That's pretty. Those are pretty cool videos, actually.
Yeah.
It's interesting because people have gotten it up pretty high. And then there's that one person who's like, "Oh, no, I'll take it right now."
Yeah. It's like, "Oh, what a jerk." But sometimes it's somebody who could really use it.
Yeah.
Like, all right, good. I'm glad.
That's cool.
Like, "Oh, thank you. I'm just about to get kicked out of my house because,
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I got some rare disease and I just lost my 3rd job. So I only have 2 jobs now, even though I have a rare disease and 9 kids. And I was going to be short on the mortgage. So thank you so much. It's like, all right, that person.
No, that's definitely some people who need help right now. It's always fascinating the ones when, what is it, Mark Dice or whatever goes out with the chocolate bar and the ounce of gold. And they take the cold, Hershey bar.
Oh, no, I've never seen that.
Oh, you haven't seen that? Oh, yeah.
No.
It's like a $2,000 coin. And he's like, "Would you like this $1 authentic gold Eagle? Or would you like this nice icy gold Hershey
so they
bar?"
just think it's $1.
Well, it is technically a U.S. dollar, right? But it's
right, yeah.
gold,
but they think it's worth $1.
I guess they don't know what it's worth, but I mean, it's kind of interesting that people don't realize what that is. But yeah, a lot of people don't know what it's worth. Yeah, which is why we've talked about gold.
How does that work? I know that people talk about like the spot price and everything like that, but melting down currency is an offense. No.
I believe so. Yeah, but
I'm not. I don't own the currency law firm, so don't hold me to. This is not something I study very regularly. So it's not like if you ended up with, let's say, 10 of those coins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would be what you said, roughly $2,000 a coin.
Yeah, I think it's even more now. I'd have to double check the current spot price or whatever. A little over 2,000, right?
But I guess you wouldn't have to melt it down in order for it to.
They're worth more.
Value, right?
They're worth more as a
piece itself.
As a
piece we've got a special guest. Special guest checking in.
Oh, hey now.
Long overdue. Marlene Downing, friend of the show.
Welcome to the show. Hey now.
Gotta have her back on again soon.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, just like the Silver Eagles, they get the spot plus that premium because they're Silver Eagles from the mint. But I suppose
did I just say something like really embarrassing in the last couple of minutes about not knowing about this stuff? Because
no, not really.
I sound like a real fool.
No, because maybe there would be a time when you would melt it down for some reason.
Look at this idiot. He knows nothing about precious metals and currency. He knows nothing about coin collecting.
But
I bet he doesn't even have a stamp collection. What a nerd. He doesn't even have a stamp collection.
Got to get some stamps, man. Those forever stamps, they go up in value. But who knows? I mean, there may be a time when it would make sense to melt them down or cut them up or whatever, I guess. But
if the entire there's a lawless society, right?
Yeah,
like Mad
exactly.
Max times or
Right.
something.
Yeah, get your
And I
nippers
suppose
out.
they're not going to show up and be like, "Hey, you defaced the currency. The world's on
Exactly.
fire,
Right.
and there is no law." But
Plus,
we're
they
going to
would
jam you
never.
up on that one.
I don't know how they would ever know, but doesn't mean it's not still illegal. But I mean, for a while, people were melting down copper pennies. Even now, if you
Hmm.
find copper pennies, are worth significantly more than a penny. So
In their original form.
yeah, the older ones that are real copper, but
Hmm.
now they're not copper. They're
Whatever.
other metals. So
Yeah.
all the metal,
Something else.
right? Zinc and whatever other combination of metals that are underneath that little coating of copper or whatever looks like copper now.
All right. So now we've got to do this. What do you think are the 5 nerdiest hobbies you can have?
Collecting stamps.
Collecting stamps is up there.
I think that's up there. I
I've
suppose
got
coin
a
collecting
buddy
is
who
another
we
too.
got the 4 of us always text on the chain from law school, and we're
Yeah.
all generally into similar stuff. But one of the guys is totally not into football or fighting.
Yeah.
Like not into sports that the rest of us watch.
Right.
And so he's always totally clueless when we're talking about that stuff.
Hmm.
And one of the guys one day said, "Hey, bro, like, you don't watch football, you don't watch fighting. What do? You must have like a banger stamp collection or something."
That's pretty funny. Yeah, that's one thing I could never really see.
Does
getting
anybody listening to the Mike G in the Morning program collect stamps?
into.
I don't know. We might have lost some
Collecting
listeners.
stamps. Yeah, right.
Marlene's like, you know what? I've had
I'm
it
outta
with these
here."
guys. I'm not listening to these guys anymore. How
Forget
dare
this.
you? How dare you insult the stamp collecting
Right.
community, Philly Chris?
I apologize. I mean, there are some pretty historical
Marlene's gonna
stamps. Yeah,
track you down.
I found some when I was working on a house in the city one time, and there's a bunch of old stuff behind like a mantle. Kind of interesting. You never know what you're going to find, but the
Stamps?
coins are, yeah, they were stamps. Yeah, I guess somebody stuck them up on the mantle and they fell behind the mantle. I don't know if they're worth anything. I still have them somewhere. They were pretty old though.
You're like a multi-millionaire and you don't know that. You didn't bother to go get him a phrase.
Right? Yeah, it's like these are from the 1700s. These are Ben Franklin
You're
stamps.
like driving a used car around.
Right. That's funny.
$10 million in stamps.
Yeah, right. You
sitting
just
in
never
the-
know. You hear those stories. Well, how about those people who accidentally like throw out Picassos and stuff? Or
Oh,
people are
wow.
walking through New York City and they find like $1 million painting on the sidewalk.
That's
you know.
crazy.
Yeah, pretty funny.
I've seen that on a smaller scale with guitars. You know, my dad's
Oh yeah,
seeing a guitar case in the garbage, open it up, and you see something that's somewhat valuable. You know,
it is surprising what people throw away. But some people I've noticed in the course of my life have this propensity just to get rid of things. Like they can't have stuff around. I have a friend like that, and as soon as there's like just a little bit of extra stuff in his house, he'll just throw it away or get rid of things. And it's like,
Dag
some of that
Nabbit
stuff,
said, "I
right.
inherited a stamp collection. Am I still a nerd?"
No, because you inherited it, Dag
Yeah,
Nabbit. You're
inherited.
okay. Hey now.
Inherited.
Okay,
Have you ever
sure.
met somebody who's like fascinated with trains?
Oh yeah, I knew a guy. My dad's
knew a-
friend when I was
You
young growing
train
up.
guy.
Yeah, his name was George, and he had those Lionel trains, and they even had they were cool though. It was like the bigger tracks, and you could put the little pellet, and it would make smoke. Like you put liquid smoke in or whatever. It's like a little thing, and it would go around and actually shoot real smoke out. So those
Just
older
for
trains
show.
were, yeah, just totally
It's
for
not like
show.
integral
Yeah,
to the operation of the train. This is just like
totally for show. Yeah, it was like the
Totally
little
for show.
miniature train on the tracks, but it made it look like it was producing steam, like the old steam locomotives. The Lionels, they're worth thousands of dollars.
Marlene says hoarders collect newspapers.
Yeah, well, you gotta have your own
Wow.
library of newspapers. Why not?
Liberty says, "I know people love collecting tiny things now."
Sure.
And what does that mean? I'm sure that's like a term of art. Tiny things. That's
Like knick-knack kind of things. Liberty,
knickknacks.
maybe
I don't think so. I think that she's saying something about.
like Hummels, tiny objects.
Rita says some old stamps are really cool looking. Oh no, Rita, we've lost
Oh,
you.
here we go, Rita. Oh,
We've
boy.
lost you.
Oh my. No, some of them are pretty cool. I mean, they're part of history, like everything else.
Uh,
Kind of cool. Like some of the old letters are neat, where they have the actual stamp from the post office. You know, especially something like the wartime.
Liberty says that like
Nice.
tiny things and cook tiny meals.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. That must be on YouTube or something.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
never know what
not
people are doing.
familiar.
Me
DG
neither.
says I'm collecting dust on my ceiling fans. Does that count? It depends. Are you saying you're collecting it as you take it off and you put it in a box somewhere and like you save it up? 'Cause,
Yeah, right. Like what's going on exactly?
uh,
That's pretty funny.
nobody's got any other nerd hobbies.
I'm trying to think what else would be sort of nerdy. I don't know. I mean, sort of coin collecting, I guess. But although a lot of those people who got into it at the right time have done very well with
Marlene
that.
says
So I don't
albums,
think it's
vinyl. That's
nerdy.
cool. I think that's a cool hobby. I think albums,
Yeah.
like records, that's a cool hobby.
That's a cool one. Vinyl's made a big comeback too. Vinyl's awesome.
Liberty says, "What's the definition of nerd?" I guess that's a good point.
Yeah,
It depends on what the definition of the word nerd is.
I think it's if you look in the dictionary, it's spelled RUSS. I think. He's got a collection of like DiGiorno boxes and things,
Oh,
Hot Pocket boxes. I've seen that. It's a personal collection he has. Yeah.
Randy says stamp collectors carry bags of bees and live off extra spicy mustard.
Oh, that's too good. Counts if you're watching it grow.
What's another hobby?
I could see you getting into collecting vinyl, Mike. You're a big music guy.
I would. I always often thought about getting a record player.
We should
Just-
get you a nice turntable. Let's do that. I
let's
know a
listen
guy.
to
who
a-
could get
pull
you
out a
one.
nice record and smoke a cigar listening to a record.
I got to bring my speakers over and set them up at your place.
Scott says I have over 7,000 fishing bobbers I've found while boating. Yeah, that's
Oh
not really a
yeah, I
nerd
saw
hobby,
those.
though.
That was really cool, actually. And he dated them and everything. That's actually pretty cool. I think that's pretty wild. Plus, it's you're an environmentalist, apparently, Scott. You're saving the environment over there.
Oh yeah, getting the plastic out
You
of
know,
there.
I mean, it is actually a good thing to do. So,
Michael Clay says hi.
hey now,
now,
Mr. Clay.
Hey now, Mr.
How are you
Clay.
doing there, brother?
Mr.
Somebody,
Clay, tell us, what do you think is the nerdiest hobby? What's
Yeah.
on your mind?
Yeah, tell us what's going on, and
Tell us it. Nerdiest
let me know
hobbies.
if it's okay to share what's going on with you. But I'll keep it private for now. But I hope you're doing well there, brother.
Nerd hobbies.
Okay. Yeah, another nerd hobby. Well, I don't know. What's Liberty think? Did Liberty put her 2 cents in there?
Liberty is talking about like these trendy things that
y-
none of us even know about.
What about comics? I know people.
Comics?
Growing up, I knew guys who collected comics, and honestly, they're geniuses because I know friends who have like some of the earlier like Superman and X-Men, and they're graded and in these cases, and some of them are worth tens of thousands of dollars. So they're obviously
Wow.
very smart. But when growing up, I kind of wasn't really into comics. I don't know that I looked at it as nerdy, but maybe
Nerdy.
some people would consider that to be a nerdy thing.
Michael Clay says models.
Models.
Rita
models,
says
okay.
dating nerds is a nerdy hobby. I
That's
don't
pretty
even
good
a smart
one, yeah.
hobby because nerds
Yeah,
tend
usually
to be
they,
successful, right?
They usually do pretty well in life. Yeah.
I feel like if you're a nerd to be a nerd, you have to be successful. If you act like a nerd, but you're not successful, then there's another name for it, right?
Yeah, I guess it all depends on, what you end up doing, right? Your position in life, maybe.
Dag nabbit, I used to collect beer cans when I was a kid.
I've seen guys do that. I got some bottles. I got some older bottles. Growing up in New Hampshire, I used to find them.
DG
sometimes.
says, do shoes and purses count? Yes, we need to abolish the shoes and purses collections.
Yeah, not nerdy though.
Uh,
Shoes and purses can be cool.
Liberty says she tried the speakers backstage. All right, Liberty, you're on. What's on your
All right.
mind? You have to unmute yourself though.
Oh, I don't know what's considered nerdy. That's my problem, because I feel like I think when you have something that you like, and
Hold
you
on.
collect it,
Here's the test. Here's the test. Think about what you enjoy, and that qualifies. Okay.
what?
And anything that you
think
enjoy
that-
qualifies as nerdy.
I think that
So
if
what's
you
your
collect
biggest
something,
hobby?
if you collect something and you like it, I think that's cool. But I think the cosplay stuff is very like kooky. Like I don't like stuff that's like very like kind of strange. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What would you
Like
consider strange?
like the cosplay.
The people
The, like,
dressing up in these characters and stuff.
There's a lot of new hobbies regarding that kind of stuff that is interesting.
I think like
Yeah.
the anime, people really get into that. Like I don't
Some
know,
people are
like
pretty into that. Yeah.
Liberty, would you consider yourself a nerd?
No, but I tell nerdy jokes.
Oh, well, there you go.
Nerdy jokes.
Nerdy jokes.
Don't you play
I like-
Nintendo, Liberty?
Only now, but I
Does
like
she?
music.
Michael Clay makes a good point. Nerdy is
Yes,
something you
indeed.
don't share with people. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
I'm a self-professed gun law nerd. I say that all
Well,
the
that's
time.
true. Although
Like,
that's not a nerdy hobby.
Hyper technical and obsessed with it, you know.
Right.
Definitely a nerd when it comes, total nerd when it comes to gun law.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, that's a good thing because your clients want you to be. that
DG
way.
has a nice collection of old books. That might qualify.
Old books are good.
Do old books qualify?
Hey, if there's something happens to the internet, I don't know. I wouldn't consider that nerdy. Although I guess people who read a lot sometimes are considered that, but they're also usually very intelligent and caring and all that. So
Marlene says, "What do you guys think of people impersonating AI? Scary."
yeah, what's going on with that? I just heard about that for the first time like the other day. What are they
What?
doing? Impersonating. Oh, you mean the actual AI impersonating people or the other way around?
Yeah, like I saw a video of Obama wearing like a tutu doing a
Oh,
Bud Light
that's
ad,
okay. Yeah,
and
yeah,
I was like, that is incredible how spot on that is.
Although I heard the opposite now, like where people are pretending to be AI when they're real, just to throw people off or something.
Oh,
So
people impersonating AI.
yeah, they're trying to act like AI. I don't know, but I don't know.
I think
Everything's
she
so
was
crazy
talking.
now.
I think she and I were on the same page though.
Yeah. No, you were. I was somewhere else for a minute. I'm back, ladies and gentlemen.
AI is going to be all out of the job because people are impersonating. Chris thinks that people are pretending to be AI.
Well, they actually are, though. I saw a video where somebody was like pretending to be like an AI character or whatever. You know, like
Oh,
those generated.
you were correct. That is
Yeah.
what she's talking
Oh,
about.
wait, she was
People-
talking about that. Oh, look at
I
that.
thought-
Okay.
AI pretending to be real. She's saying real pretending to be AI.
Yeah, that's why I said I just heard about it because I guess people are now doing that where they're pretending to be AI for whatever reason. I don't know what the context.
Maybe
is, but
because like AI is hot right now,
probably.
and you're like, hey, I can have AI do your work for you.
Yeah.
Do your work with AI, and they're like, sure, I'll pay anything for it. And then you go ahead and you just do it yourself and the old-fashioned way, and you say, yep, AI,
Yeah,
did
right.
every bit of it.
Maybe that's what's going on. Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh,
So-
Liberty says they are. I sent you guys that's focused today. Women on TikTok are making money on it.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of
They
what I
go
saw, but
live.
I didn't really know. What
Oh,
the
so
was.
they're
Oh,
real
yeah.
people, and
Mhm.
because others are interested in watching these AI things,
I guess so.
seeing how good they are, but they're
Yeah,
really not.
right.
It's really not a good AI. It's just a regular person.
Right. Maybe they're trying to trick people into thinking they're AI.
Yeah,
but,
come watch
know.
the AI show.
Right,
And
Right.
like, oh, and then you're like, wow, that is really good. I can't believe they did.
Right.
This is such a great AI version of Philly Chris.
Maybe we'll do that.
Michael Clay just hit a winner.
Oh yeah. What did he say?
Birding is nerdy.
Oh,
I was
birding.
gonna say
Yeah.
that was on my
He
mind.
just
Bird
he just
watching.
won. He just
Bird
won.
watching's on the list.
Way to go,
for
Michael
sure.
Clay. Yeah. Yeah. He just won. That is pretty nerdy. Although I've done a little bit of that. It's kind of cool to be out in nature.
Bird
you know.
watching.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've gone whale. I went on a whale watching trip in
In Maine.
Massachusetts one time.
Okay. Yeah. Massachusetts. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't
okay.
see a single whale. So
So you really didn't go whale watching.
I just went on like a regular boat
Yeah,
trip.
you just paid a big amount of money to go on a
Tag
boat.
Navit says winner chicken dinner. I think bird watching. Oh, Marlene loves bird watching.
Marlene's
Oh.
a confirmed nerd then.
Me and
But
you
she's-
should
she's our
dress up
nerd. We
like
love
we
her.
should set it up with Marlene. We dress up like nerds, right?
Right.
So we'll just wear our normal clothes. In other words,
Birds aren't real, though, by the way.
We'll dress up like nerds, and
Yeah.
we'll find a place to meet Marlene, and she can take us on a bird watching expedition.
That'd be cool. Let's do it. Let's do it.
We'll get the camera crew out there.
Right.
She'll be the guide, the bird watching guide.
I like it.
How does one get into bird watching?
You get some binoculars, and you find some
Hmm.
time, and you go out and.
I think binoculars in and of themselves might be nerdy. No,
They are kind of nerdy,
I
but they're cool though.
just remember going to the Yankees games as a kid, and there's always like some old dude in the bleachers with the old-fashioned radio and the binoculars.
Right. That's pretty funny.
Marlene says, "I'll be a nerd. Nerds are winning." That's what we were
nerds are
saying.
winning.
You
Yeah,
got to be
that's true.
successful to be a nerd.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're
Generally,
not
they
successful, you don't
do well,
qualify
yeah.
as a nerd. It's an
This is true.
essential component.
Mm-hmm.
But we will take you up on that, Marlene.
Definitely.
We have volunteered you to take us bird watching.
Yeah, we have to do that. That would be fun.
Randy says, Michael Clay, ever see the episodes of The Honeymooners where Ralph spots the yellow-bellied sapsucker? Scott
pretty
says, I'm
funny.
picturing Mike dressed up as Urkel and trying to find any birds in Philadelphia. I
Yeah.
think I see a pigeon.
Yeah, they're not real.
Oh, DG enjoys watching birds.
Go DG.
Had a yellow American finch on my bird bath today.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Very nice. They're beautiful, actually. I like taking pictures of them. I got some pictures of birds when I was out with my camera.
Oh, wow.
They're nice.
So is this like some secret hobby that
I think so. Apparently, more people.
apparently everybody likes it?
They're totally into it, Mike. Yeah.
Oh.
Hmm.
I'm home watching the fights, smoking cigars.
Right.
You guys are all watching birds.
Everybody else is in the
I'm
woods.
the nerd at home. They're like, look at that nerd. He decided to stay home and watch the fights and smoke cigars.
You're gonna look in your backyard and see a bunch of people with binoculars. And
We're gonna go bird watching.
we got to do it.
Give us a call when you want to go bird watching. Maybe stop being a nerd and come bird watching with us.
Yeah. Forget about it.
Liberty Films Flags. If you've never seen the YouTube channel.
She showed me some of that stuff. That was cool. I think that's a great thing to do. Why not?
Yeah.
Be nice if more people, displayed them. You fed the wild rabbit some broccoli, Liberty, did you? That's nice. That's awfully thoughtful.
All
Gourmet
right, I think
broccoli. Yeah.
We must wrap it up this evening.
Yeah.
Billy
It is
Chris
that
has got
time.
Places to be, babies to
hard-
kiss.
Yeah, gotta.
So, all right, that's
Got off the
everybody's homework is to think of some of the nerdiest hobbies
Yeah.
you could imagine. All right, Michael Clay said you could share. Could you do that the last 1 minute? Is it a
Yeah,
1
if
minute
everybody
story
could
or
send some positive energy and some prayers out for Michael Clay. He had a incident on a four-wheeler a few weeks back and ended up being rescued, I guess, to some degree from a very remote area, the wilderness up north, and taken to a emergency room where he required some serious medical attention. He's recovering right now. So love you, Michael. You've been one of my favorite people in the whole world. You're a true brother, and I hope you have a full recovery soon. If everybody out there could pray and send positive
pray
thoughts
for
his
Michael
way.
Clay?
Yeah, pray for Michael Clay.
Well, let's start a hashtag. Pray for Michael Clay.
Pray for Michael Clay. There we go. Yeah.
Pray
I
for
gotta go. I
Michael
gotta
Clay.
try to make a trip up soon to see you. And but I'll catch up with you off the air. We'll get together soon, bro. Peace and love, my
Everybody
friend.
pray for Michael Clay.
Everybody pray for Michael Clay. Has a nice rhyme to it. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. All right, everybody, make sure you tune in next week for Philly Chris's shining moment.
Hope so.
His
We'll see.
his breakthrough. It's his big break. It's Philly Chris's big break.
See if I can drive Mike crazy.
I feel like Rich Roberts right now. Like this is the greatest thing you're ever gonna do in life is interview me.
Right. That's right. That's right. So true. So true.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to everybody tuning in next week. Tell your friends, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Thank you, everybody in the Mike G in the Morning family who tuned in this evening. A lot of familiar faces and people that I love getting to see come out. I know that we had quite a long layoff with the program, but we're back in the swing. It's good to have Philly Chris back, and it's good to see each and every one of you. That's all time we got for today. Stick around for We the People, the Constitution Matters. Pastor David Whitney, Professor Phil Duffy. I'll be joining as your legal analyst. We miss you, Ellie. Daddy loves you.